Welcome to the Dissonant Echoes podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Gutierrez, joined by co-host Alan Brucky. And today we have special guest Alex from Beyond Death Recordings. How's it going, Alex?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty sick, man.
Oh yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
Yeah, 2025. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
What's surprising about 2025, man?
Hell, I don't know. I never thought that far into the future.
Yeah.
Like any other time. And
Sure.
It's weird that it's here now.
Yeah.
Which I just hit 30 day after Christmas. So I guess I'm getting old.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of around that age. Adrian's a little bit older.
Yeah, I'm 35.
Right.
I'm getting up there.
Yeah, 2025, man. I was like thinking about this year and like how I'm actually excited about it for once. And it's kind of crazy because I used to be so just nihilistic and depressed. But, finally I'm finding a way to make some, not just money with music, but like all these new friends and community and everything with music. I'm playing live music. So it's just really cool. It's going to be a fun year for me at least. So.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Looks like 2025 is shaping up to be a big year for Hauntology. You guys have been killing it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we're trying. So we got some stuff planned for next year.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I was really pumped to see you guys make the jump to vinyl.
Yeah, that was kind of scary.
I'm sure I would be scared. I was like, oh shit, they're doing it. They're going at it.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of people asking for vinyl, so finally just gave in. Made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I didn't mean to cut you off, Alex. You want to go first?
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say I've had a couple of people come to me about it. I've just been hesitant to take that jump so far.
Yeah,
like it is intimidating.
Very, and for me, like, I don't know about you, but for like the label, we're not operating at a profitable margin yet. So it's an out of pocket expense. It's an investment. You got to believe in the band and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's a big endeavor, but none of my projects are big enough to have vinyl releases yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah, it's definitely the boat I'm in. It's with some things, it's like you can have a certain bit of I don't know. There's a little more financial freedom to be like, I like this and I want to put this out whenever it's a little bit less like intensive. But when you're dealing with vinyl and you got like big minimums and stuff like that, and like so many things that can go wrong and like so much money in it, person pretty much has to be a little bit more choosy with it. But I'm definitely personally not at that point myself either, like for any of my projects.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just talk about any of your projects that you'd want to talk about. Cause like, I'm definitely curious about that. Like what kind of music do you like to make?
I mean, I guess primarily at this point, I'm a noise artist, but I play a couple instruments. I started off playing acoustic instruments. I play banjo, like acoustic guitar, mandolin, a lot of those like bluegrass style instruments. And but on the other side, I was really into like electronic music, harsh music, metal, all that. And I at one point gave up on being in bands and playing banjo. Well, in that way. And I started a couple projects. I'll only really mention two for the sake of the time. I just did my first shows under my own name, Alexander Yates. That's like guitar focused, electric guitar focused stuff. I was really inspired by Kaiji Hino in that way. He put out a lot of collaboration albums with like Sumac and a couple other metal bands that I really liked back in the day. And that was my first exposure to like Japanese noise. and a lot of noise in general. And so yeah, my main two right now is under my own name, doing the guitar stuff. I just did a little run of shows for that. And then my other main one is Evangelist. I call it Bible Noise.
Yeah.
I grew up in the South in Appalachia, Northeast Tennessee, and growing up, biblical imagery and having the Bible thrown at you and everything was always an everyday part of life. So that side is my like harsh noise, religious trauma, like a lot of feedback, a lot of like not quite wall, but I do a lot of cassette with that, like cassette sampling and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been performing in noise and electronic for about 3 years now, I think, since I started.
I mean, that's cool how you got into it through like a band like Sumac. Like I really like that band, but I haven't heard that collaboration you're talking about. I bet if I had, I'd probably be interested too and probably dig into it as well.
Yeah, they've got 2 or 3 albums together. There's not a lot of vocals on it. It is the whole band Sumac, and then pretty much just Kaiji playing an extra guitar. But they've got 2 or 3 albums that are really good together. And then like I'd heard, Primitive Man and like Full of Hell, and a lot of that sort of more common like crossover noise stuff nowadays. Yeah. And but yeah, I was mainly always into metal. Pretty much that was my main entryway.
You got anything, Adrian?
Yeah,
you looked like you did.
No, I was I was curious about like what made you like decide to start like a noise kind of label.
That's actually a good question. The area that I'm in, to be middle of nowhere, Bible Belt, Tennessee, the city over, Johnson City, and particularly the venue, the Hideaway. The Hideaway has had noise here for, probably 25 years now. And there's just generations of like varied noise artists. Like it started, with 5, and then there's like 5 more, 10 more come in, 5 more, 10 more. And I'm like the 4th or 5th wave or generation of noise artists here, which is crazy. But that was my initial jump off point. And me and a lot of my buddies here sort of banded up. And at first it was local, like, me and my friends.
Yeah.
And at some point I started making cassette tapes now about a year and a half ago. And fell back in love with cassette tapes as a format. And, I just, at first I started off assisting other people. Some friends of mine were starting a project I really loved, but they didn't really know a ton about the like management of a project or anything like that. And I was like, guys, this is too good for nobody to hear this. So let me like help you out. And that sort of mentality just kind of snowballed into what it is now.
Yeah, it seems pretty crazy. Like, it seems like there's a lot of like noise projects coming from there. Like, there's nothing where I'm at, so like it's kind of weird. There's like a congregation of you guys.
Yeah, it's really strange. A lot of that's usually you find it in like big cities and stuff like that. Like New York and different places. But like, I don't know. I count myself very lucky because it's like I don't know if I would be doing this if I didn't like come up here with like Revenge Technician Patrick, probably my biggest influence. He's still at it. So many people here, and it is weird, and it's especially weird to be here in like super religious area.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the shows and stuff. Like, I'd imagine like listening to noise like on cassette or on digitally, it's got to be a way different experience when you're seeing it live. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed a lot of people enjoy it more in person than
Hmm.
like to sit and listen to it in their spare time.
Yeah.
But then it's like if somebody doesn't have a venue around them, it's like what are
Yeah.
you gonna do? Just never like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but yeah, I do at least a show a month over at the Hideaway here, and then we've got Chattanooga Noise Night. They're like 4 hours across the state out west, but they're amazing, really great. I think it's probably one of the biggest noise events in the Southeast that I know
Yeah.
of. And yeah, it's really shocking. I count myself really lucky to have found all this and to like be able to connect people to in that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I've been to a ton of shows, and like it always drew me. The bands that were more experimental, like it really is completely different than just like a traditional rock show. It seems like noise artists in particular are very like emotive compared to a lot of these guys. Are just kind of, it seems like they're just going through the motions, especially on long tours. But noise artists really like put everything into it. It's like it's really special.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing right now. Like since I've started the label and met a lot of people and like got a lot of community, like Adrian was saying, I realize how different it is for everybody that like participates in it, which I guess everything in life is, but like I feel like where noise is mostly made by one person,
Mm.
usually, with usually minimal skills. It's like, well, I wouldn't say usually minimal, but you know what I mean. But like that, it makes it more personal,
Yeah.
when it is like one person and when you're one person on a stage that everybody's staring at. And like,
Yeah.
not only are you one person, but you're one person standing there turning knobs or like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, sometimes you feel the pressure to like, hey, come on, do something. Like, don't just
Yeah.
stand there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a complete rejection of music. It's like really something. I can't explain it, but just like watching the shows and stuff, like I wish there was like more artists around me that would do that stuff, but like the few that I've managed to catch, like it's something.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that around here that I'm aware of, at least. Like, I mean, I'm just kind of starting to make connections in the local music scene here now. I've just kind of been a hermit my whole life, but yeah, I mean, I I got to get up to Tennessee is what it sounds like because I
Yeah.
live in South Carolina, and that's not too far away to go see something like that. That sounds really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Where are you at in South Carolina?
I'm in the top left corner of South
Oh,
Carolina.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're probably not super far from each other because I'm in like the very top right tip of Tennessee.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only ever spent any time in Lenoir City in Tennessee, in Knoxville, just because I have family there. But yeah, I mean, it's not too far away to come see something like that because that
Lenore's
would be an
close.
experience.
And Lenore's close, actually. It's like, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's not very far away at all. Maybe like an hour.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's we aren't having like giant shows or anything.
sure.
I don't
Yeah,
want to mislead. It's still definitely a niche thing, but because most of what we have here is like punk, metal, sort of a lot of stuff like that, and that's kind of the way it's always been. But there's also always been the noise, and always a couple people keeping it alive here. And there was one other label before me here called Chaotic Underworld, and they released a lot of good stuff. I'm trying to go back and collect a lot of their stuff now, but yeah, I mean, nobody was doing it, and a lot of my noise artists here didn't record or like didn't release physicals or anything like that. And I'm like, I wanted other people to see it.
Mm.
Like I wanted other people to hear it and like see what people are doing.
you're
Yeah.
talking about how it's like not something everybody wants to sit and listen to in their spare time. I mean, I've definitely noticed that it's a different kind of attention span that you gotta have. It's not like I'm also getting into ambient music lately, kind of like softer ambient music, and, that's a little easier for me to kind of absorb for long stretches of time, whereas with noise, it's like, I'll check it out, but if a track is, like, even 3 minutes long, it's like, I gotta, like, recuperate before the next one, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting around and listening to it. Even though I run a label, I'm not sitting around and listening to noise all day, every day. You know,
Yeah.
I still love, all the various metal things always, like extreme metal, grindcore, black metal, all that stuff, which I think go pretty closely hand in hand in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. I think one of the biggest hurdles for people to get over, and this was for me too, is like for noise and for people that are into extreme music, a lot of it's like sonically not that far apart sometimes between like, black metal,
Yeah.
the kind of recording qualities and stuff that people have used a lot. And then you look at metal and like, or you look at grind or noise, and it's like you see the same sort of lo-fi recorded at home, and like in grindcore, there's a lot of that crossover of like anti-music,
Hmm.
But the biggest leap for a lot of people is like going without vocals a lot of the times. That was like my first big hurdle that I had to get over, was like listening to fully instrumental music for long periods of time. And then the second, which I think was even the bigger hurdle for me, was to listen to music that didn't have like drums or like any sort of structure, I guess, in that
Yeah.
way of
Right,
like
right, right.
rhythm. Yeah, it's like formless and like shapeless a lot of the times. And that's like
Yeah.
intimidating or difficult, or,
I
so
mean, it
many
is
things.
super, super cool that that exists. You're describing, like a solo noise artist standing there, twisting knobs. I think of it like an artist, like a visual artist exhibiting their art in public. That's what it reminds me of. It's just a little bit different than like a band playing. It's
Right.
something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like, I really enjoy the artistry of it. And obviously, for anybody listening, I didn't mean any offense by the standing there twisting knobs, because I do it too.
Yeah.
But it's such a broad thing. And I think that's another thing too, is like noise is like the other half of like artistic sound, like music. Um, it's like conventional forms of music that, as we know them, are like 60% of like recorded sound, or like the ground they cover. And then it's like, for
Mhm.
me, it's like you get to noise, and even just the genre itself is such a formless thing that like you can do anything you want to. And like, I know people out here whose projects could be called something else, and they call it noise instead.
Yeah.
Um, it's such a broad thing. And it's like, I've released like, I released an album, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, but I recently did a compilation with it on it. But it was called Never Been Loved. And it was a EP of classic country song covers. Just me sitting here playing like Waylon
Mhm.
Jennings and like shit like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was recording it through a lo-fi field mic that my friend Compromission Record in France made for me. And it's like, I sat and thought about it, and I was like, I'm just releasing country songs to like a noise crowd,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like they loved it. People really liked it. I
Yeah.
had a shocking response to it all, and I was like, I'm a noise artist, and it's like, this isn't noise. But then I've
Right.
showed it to people that like country music, and they're like, yeah, this quality's fucked up on this. Like the sound quality's fucked up. This isn't as clean as I'd like it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And I'm like, that,
Yeah, for sure. I really like the lo-fi sound to like, especially like country music. I really appreciate that kind of sound to it. It's I was a big fan of the early like Mountain Goat stuff, and it was just really like lo-fi. Um, so I think that stuff's great. When if you really think about music in general, like all music is noise. It's just some is better to recognize the pattern than others. Like everything's noise, so it's just kind of like a matter of perception. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of whenever I was in high school, I came across John Cage and his sort of like school of thought of like appreciating non-musical sounds or like
Hmm.
appreciate sounds around you that aren't necessarily like pleasing or something,
Yeah.
like a further appreciation of sound than just like listening to a violin and thinking it's pretty,
Yeah.
like and I think that sort of mindset and getting that in me pretty early uh is a lot of what moved me towards noise eventually.
Yeah.
Was just being into like abstract and
Hmm.
interpretive whatever kind of stuff, and then I found this and it was like a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. No,
I feel
I've
like I
always.
can. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say like with noise. I well, and music in general. Like people would talk about like why would I listen to like black metal, death metal, and I kind of compare it to like horror movies. Like not every movie has to be happy or funny or like romantic. Like there's gonna be like dark movies, and the
Yeah,
way I kind of seen like noise is kind of like the August underground of like music, like just as intense as you can possibly get. It doesn't
yeah.
not everything has to be like a certain way. Like there's people are always going to push to the extremes.
I think for me, like, I've never really felt extremely proud of any of my musical releases. Like, I've felt gratified in them for sure. But I think the main reason why I always have this kind of doubt about them is because I'm comparing them to similar things that have already been done. I haven't ever done anything that was so extremely unique that it stands out on its own as like something totally different. And I guess that's kind of that's hard to do for anybody, but I feel like it's a little bit easier possibly to like have some kind of pride in your creations as a noise artist because you are so against the grain of everything that people expect. And, I'm kind of envious of it. Like, I wish I was good at that kind of thing now.
I mean, I'll say it. It goes a lot of different ways, and I guess to kind of tie the two, kind of what both of you said together, I was thinking, as far as like the intensity and like the darker side of things too. One thing that I, one thing that I like, and one thing that I'm proud of with Beyond Death is like there is, historically when people think of noise, you think of like black and white, like homicide wall, like you know gruesome samples and all
Hmm.
this, the cliche of it. And a lot of
Yeah.
the times it is sometimes just what it is. And a lot of the times that is just what people do. And it's clear that some people put more thought into their releases than others, even in noise. Like, I think some people don't put very much thought into it, so they're not quite as invested in what the end result is. Like you were saying, Adrian, like
Yeah.
I think some people have a personal detachment to it, and some people, it's completely who they are. And one artist I think of in this is my friend Aunt Soot, uh, Aunt AUNTSOOT, Aunt Soot, but it's one word.
Hmm.
Hmm.
French artist I love, great friend of mine. He makes noise, and it's not necessarily dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it is harsh and it is extreme, but it's like this is more like emotional or like
Hmm.
a little more grounded than like, you know, John Wayne Gacy stuff.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I like that. And I didn't want to like start making noise and just be like homicide, dark, dark, dark.
Right.
And some of my stuff is, but like some of the Alexandria Yates stuff I've released, like I made a music video that's me traveling and hiking and stuff, and it's just like green and pretty and like,
yeah,
you know. And
yeah,
I like people that are doing stuff like that. They're sort of going against that. Like, it is still intense just because the sound is just what it is. But like, sometimes, but like a lot of people are bringing so much variety to it and so many more ideas and like expressing different things with noise and experimental music. And that's what I'm after. Like with Beyond Death and stuff, is like I wanted to just release different stuff, things that were interesting, things that were unusual.
Yeah. That the onset smog split with a transfiguration.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that one, that one blew me away. The spoken word passage on one of the tracks, just that was, you're absolutely right. Like to me, that was like beautiful. So like, noise isn't just about harshness, you know.
Yeah.
There's so much variety. You're absolutely right.
And like he brings like acoustic, and I do too now. And actually, because I found on Soot when I did, he has a song, particularly "Parade of the Wretched," is one of his older songs, and I mean it's a folk song with just some noise behind it. And I was like, damn, somebody can just do that. Somebody can just like play acoustic guitar and put a little noise with it and like release that to a noise crowd, and people love him. I love him. And it was really inspiring to me. So like I started trying to bring the acoustic stuff and everything, like banjo. I play banjo with Evangelist some, and like acoustic guitar I've tried to do more. And I really like that even within noise and as boundary pushing, I guess, as it already is, we're still challenging the conventions and like stereotypes and things that come along with it. Yeah, I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I think like mixing like traditional sounds with like just the abrasiveness itself is like that's I don't know, that's I'm really into that sound too. Like I love old folk music, and to like kind of put like a modern twist to it. Like it brings it like a weird, has like a weird charm to it. So a lot of the stuff you're putting out on the label, man, it's been really good.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, dude, it's like you said you're proud of it. I'm glad you feel that way. Like I really it's like I said earlier, it's you guys are doing something that is something to be proud of, I think, because it's just it's not conventional, you know, and yet you're describing all these different types of noise I've never even heard of before, because this is new to me and I'm like super interested in it. So definitely going to be delving into this world for sure.
Yeah, I can send you, based on what you like and what you're interested in, I can send you probably a million recommendations of stuff like that now.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, like, I feel like the way that I try to push my own musical boundaries is so tame compared to what you're describing, but that doesn't make it lesser or, inferior or anything like that. It's just I feel like I'm doing what I know, and that's kind of safe. And I would like to just kind of break out of some of my, my what I know a little bit in the future. So it'd be good to check out a new scene and get some inspiration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from my perspective, like I've looked at the things that you've released, and I'm amazed. I wouldn't know where to begin. I I don't play electric guitar or like have amazing vocals or any of those things in particular. And I will say though, for the first time in my musical and creative life, I do sincerely, and even besides the label, just like on a personal note, I do sincerely feel like I'm free to do pretty much whatever I feel like. And I'm going to have some sort of outlet for it. And at least, a couple people that are going to care in some capacity.
Yeah, if you're inspired, it's going to inspire somebody else probably,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the energy I've tried to bring with it. But my stuff's a drop in the bucket compared to all the releases, because we've had around 50 in technically in 3 days will be the on paper first anniversary of Beyond Death recordings,
Nice.
depending on what we count as the anniversary, which
Right.
is hard because I started digitally releasing January 5th with Kudzu Wreath, and then by November that year it had already like taken off to where I'd started making tapes, and by November was making tapes for people like out of the state and like across the country and stuff that I
Yeah.
didn't even know. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
really hard
Hauntology
to
is just a little
imagine.
bit over a year old now as well, so it's really cool to just connect with other guys and girls doing this thing, you know, and just see what
Yeah,
everybody's up to. I mean, like I said, this is our second interview. We're new to this, so I apologize, but it is really cool just to connect with everybody that's doing this, you know?
yeah, yeah, and I really like this outlet too. I did. I've only done 2 episodes of BDR radio so far. I'm working on a third one with Aunt Soot.
Oh, awesome.
I haven't
Oh,
announced that or said that, but since I'm here, and if
Oh,
anybody
yeah.
this
hears
won't
it,
be out for probably 6 weeks, so
okay, well, mine might be up before then. So
All
check
right,
it
cool.
out. Go watch it on YouTube. But yeah, he's great, and yeah, it is nice, and it is nice to be able to connect. And I do really appreciate with like generally underground music through the internet and the platform that we have, that we can meet people this way and connect this way.
Yeah.
Because it's like I started chatting with Ontology, you know, a good while ago now. I think
Yeah.
it's been a good bit,
Yeah. It's
and
about a year ago. Yeah.
yeah, and the progress that y'all have made with it in that time is insane. Personally, I really got all my respect.
Thanks, man. Yeah. We've been really
Quality of the
pushing it.
music's there, quality of the physicals and the art's there. I mean, can't beat it.
Thanks, man.
yeah, I mean, it's just all about, you know, what we're trying to do without getting, like, super philosophical about it. Real basically, we're just trying to build a community of artists and make art together, and, you know, we're also trying to run a small business, but, I mean, it sounds cliché when I say it this way, but it really is mostly just about us. I mean, we stand to benefit from the label, right? We make music on the label, you know? We have
Mhm.
a horse in the race, so to speak.
Right.
But we also really genuinely like the people we work with, the visual artists we work with, the other musicians on the label. Like, it's just a really good time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like it that way. Like whenever I started, I was referring to Beyond Death as a family label.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that was kind of the thing that I had in mind, was to like have community and have like, I didn't just want to be releasing stuff by people and then like never speaking to them again or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
like
mean, one of the things that we've done
stuff.
and is we just started a Discord server for the label, and you know, we're trying to get everybody that's involved with working with us in there. So I know not everybody uses Discord, and that's fine, but you know, get a lot of them in there anyway, and just keep in touch and share what we're working on and everything.
Yeah. I'm liking Discord in general. I use it personally. I have a Beyond Death one. I just don't really push it. I did for a little bit and didn't get a ton of people in on it, but I use it for doing interviews and stuff for
Yeah.
BDR radio. And then I just screen capture it, add some
Right.
stuff around it, and all that. It works pretty well. But yeah, it is a really good thing. And honestly, I mean, as much as there are so many negative aspects to the internet and social media and stuff, it really is pretty amazing that this is even possible, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, like how connected everyone is now. Like we're working with artists overseas and stuff that never would have happened. You know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. My biggest like hub outside of Tennessee, honestly, as of yet, is France.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
With
pretty
like
cool.
Onset, Compromission
Mm.
Records, all those various. I released for Michael Potier, question mark. My French is really bad, so I probably butchered it. But that was a really great album. He's a madman. Um, kind of free jazz style,
Mm.
like junk orchestra, free jazz stuff. Really
Oh
interesting
yeah.
guy, really interesting visual character. If you if anybody's looking for anything wild, he's your guy.
All right, cool. I'll have to check it out.
So I don't think I have any of the tapes left. But yeah, I was gonna say we could talk shop about label stuff too. Um,
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
sure.
I
Yeah.
do my stuff in house for the most part, recording. I love it.
Mm. Yeah, it's all DIY. That's pretty cool. The tapes are great. You use a lot of recycled tapes, right?
I was.
Yeah.
Now I'm finally at the point that I've mostly phased them out. That said, I've got like I probably seriously have over 1,000 of the like clear
Mm.
TDK, like C90s and C60s. I've probably
Yeah.
got 1,200 or more of those, and I just keep getting them sent in.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's a good deal.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
thought to myself, if I just had like an overwhelming amount of stock, that I would just like continue the label indefinitely.
Mhm.
So I've ended up with these just boxes and boxes.
So, how many artists on the label as of right now?
It's hard to say. I was thinking earlier, I think I've got about 10 roster artists,
Hmm.
like technically. Um, but and most of those are local, the like roster ones, which because I was distributing to Spotify at a point and using
Yeah.
like DistroKid,
Hmm.
which fuck DistroKid. If you're listening to this, anybody don't use DistroKid. Use CD Baby, probably, honestly. That's a
I
better
mean, tell us
deal.
more about that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What DistroKid?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know how free I am to speak here.
Dude, we speak against streaming and stuff on here, so no,
Yeah.
just feel free.
We're not big fans of streaming, so
Yeah, I mean, there's like all kinds of socio-political reasonings and arguments that could be made, and that's a probably one of the biggest things in my mind is still like Spotify and stuff like that. But DistroKid just sucks. Like it's a subscription service,
hmm
and you're paying like however much a year. And it's like, yeah, you can upload, $20 a person. You can upload, I guess, however many albums you want. But as soon as you quit paying that, they're going to drop them all, take them
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So it's like you're almost better off to just pay $5 or $10, whatever. Sometimes they have deals, just doing it up front and going through CD Baby. I'm sure there's better, but I don't really mess with this distribution stuff a lot, where it's like the nature of the beast with noise and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of like DistroKid would straight up reject noise
Mm.
on like
Really?
a sonic basis.
Really.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because of like the loudness levels or something?
The loudness, the shit, what was it? I can't remember what their exact wording was, but pretty much saying that it wasn't music or well, they have DistroKid has rules against like you're not supposed to upload like 5 hours of static for sleep
Yeah.
type stuff to
Yeah.
Spotify to like leech money off of it. So what they do is when you submit something that's harsh noise or something, they can subjectively be like, oh, sorry, this is not music or
Yeah.
Right.
against
Wow,
some of these
that's
other
fucked up.
things.
I didn't know
I
that.
had it. I had it happen over and over again. And there was
Mhm.
one album, a split, and one of the artists on the split was a roster artist, and I went to upload it. They won't let you upload splits
Right. That's
Right.
really
correctly.
aggravating.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
they
had an
won't let you
issue
do
with
that
that one.
correctly. CD Baby will. CD Baby will let
Mm.
you upload splits, multiple album like releases, like multiple disc things. Like you have more control over all that stuff. There's probably better than CD Baby, but it yeah, there's just so many things and so many walls I kept running into with them. Like they've got an extremely low payout compared to a lot of other services that I've seen. Even, pretty much all the other ones that I've looked into have a higher payout than DistroKid. Which now Spotify is like demonetizing everything that has less than 1,000 listens. So it's like
Yeah.
there's yet another barrier to not seeing a fucking cent. And then
Yeah, I
when you
mean
quit paying, they'll remove it.
the
Yeah.
split thing, that was the first release that we did with Hauntology, was
Yeah.
the split between Icy Satan, Fall Like Lightning, and Pull the Strings, and it's really aggravating because we had to do a not split on
Yeah.
Spotify and Apple Music and all that. And
Yeah.
I emailed them about it, and their response was, "Oh, we can do splits. You mean a compilation album?" And I was like, "No, I want two primary artists on the release. It's not complicated." So
Yeah.
Yeah.
they just act ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. It's really a hassle. I'm glad I got away from it because like it kept growing and I had multiple artists on a DistroKid account and it got to the point that it was like $175 a year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, even at one point, even at the highest point with probably, I know it's probably over 5,000 streams and at least at one point, though, just the last time I remember checking DistroKid had over 5,000 and it was like $6 or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
maybe paid back.
Mhm.
Like, and that was over time. And, but from what I hear, like some of the other services, they pay out more and there's like, you can get paid for people using the sounds in different ways. And from what I understand, one of those ways that this could potentially be monetized is like people adding your music to like Instagram stories.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard that was like some aspect of it. And apparently CD Baby
And
pays out
DistroKid
for
is
that.
just not paying for that, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently that's possible. That's possible to do. And other places pay that out. But as far as I know, DistroKid didn't. They were just paying like the bare minimum from
Right.
streams across like Spotify and iTunes.
See, this is one of many reasons. I'm glad you told me about DistroKid. I think both Adrian and I used DistroKid for both the label and for our personal projects. But this is one of many reasons why we've come to the light, so to speak, about Bandcamp being the way forward. Because, you know, I mean, there's so many arguments, but the big one for me just keeps coming back to $11 a month, I think is what it is now for Spotify, is not an ethical way to enjoy music. You can't
Yeah.
say you're supporting an artist. You're not doing anything, You're
Yeah.
supporting Joe Rogan maybe, but you're not
Mhm.
supporting like small artists that you listen to and supposedly get value from. So
Yeah, and you're supporting like fucking genocide and everything else with like the same money that goes into Spotify. From what I've heard and
yeah, yeah.
seen,
No, I
these
I I
various things for
honestly
other
don't know
reasons.
enough about it to speak on that particular aspect of it, but I'm sure Spotify has,
Mm,
they're not the best corporation. Let's just leave it at that. And
yeah,
I really strongly advise everybody to just stop paying for streaming. It's convenient to a degree, but you're also not even listening to full albums. Like you're not enjoying the artist's music the way they expect
yeah,
you to actually try and enjoy it. So, Bandcamp is really the way forward. There's other ways we can sell music directly, but right now that's the main place.
yeah. And it's like I had a hassle of a time. I don't remember what the deal was, but at some point I got aggravated with Bandcamp trying to like add tapes and all this different stuff. And like I was making tapes that like mixtapes and things that I didn't have. I wasn't uploading a digital album for, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
they don't want you to sell anything that you don't release. Like you're not uploading a digital for or whatever the
Mhm.
situation was. So I've been going through Big Cartel for that, and I mean they're kind of
Well,
they recently went up in
you can
prices.
you can get around that just by instead of marking it as like cassette tape, just put it as other and then just list it as a cassette tape. We had to do that with the Rotting Sun Records. We have a bunch of their tapes, so we just listed them that way. As long as you mark it as other, you don't have to put any music behind it.
Shouts out to Rotting Sun. I love Rotting Sun.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got a bunch of Rotting Sun tape stuff, tapes in stock at the moment too. Yeah,
yeah. We have a ton of them, so really
put
good
them up
stuff
in
coming
store.
from that record.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I love them. I there's a lot of good labels, and like whenever it comes to metal right now, if anybody ever comes to me about stuff like that, I direct them to you and Rotting Sun
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Because I don't hear a lot. The first time I heard like Gnashing Teeth, I was like, I guess sort of the way you were saying about experimental music or something that you're like it's different in a way. It's like I was listening to that and I was listening to Gnashing Teeth and I was like, I love this, and this is different. It is very
Yeah,
different than a lot of the stuff that like I've heard and listened to, being into grind and black metal and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. That project has its own voice. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed working on mastering that album. Like just
yeah.
listening to it, like that was my first real time working on anything kind of harsh and noisy. Um, and I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do with it at first. You know, when I was mastering it, I was like, I
Right.
tried to take some of that out, but then after a couple of revisions of that, I was like, no, I'm ruining this. There's no way that this is the vision. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I'm really, really in love with that album still. It's a great one.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything I've heard from Hauntology and from Rotting Sun, I found Bastard of Bethlehem through
yeah.
their label, and I've loved every single tape. I was messaging multiple people, being like, "Hey, y'all got that? Which one is it? I think it's like Dead Humans." I was like, "Y'all got that Bastard of Bethlehem Dead Humans tape?" And everybody kept saying no, and then I finally broke down and actually asked um, Rotting Sun. He's like, "I was keeping two back. You can have this one." And I was like, "Oh my god."
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. I like feeling that way. Like as a person that loves music, it's like I love like I don't know the how many labels there are and like all the different stuff that everybody's doing. Like uh I've got all the Gnashing Teeth tapes. I was pumped about that. I feel like I've got most of the I See Satan, Fall Like
Yeah.
Lightning tapes too. And I don't know. It's like I that's what I'm trying to do is like release stuff that I would be pumped about,
Yeah. Yeah.
that I would feel that way about. Because I've always been that person.
I mean, that's the ideal setup is when you don't have to kind of fake it and promote something you don't really like, you know?
Yeah, 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 and that's cool. It's a good feeling. I definitely never thought I'd run a label in my like thoughts of things. I always thought it was cool. I
Yeah.
always thought it was a cool idea. I always loved Metal Blade and like stuff like that,
Yeah.
like Earache and all that. Growing up, but shit, I never thought I'd be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Hauntology started because basically we were trying to do that split EP and Adrian wanted to release it and I was like, "Well, you're releasing my music. I guess you've got a black metal label now." And it turns out he took that idea and fucking ran with it and here we are. So,
Yeah, it's funny how it goes. It's kind of
Yeah.
the way it was for me too, with like Kudzu Wreath and Tyler and Noah that are in Kudzu Wreath. They are Certain Agony and Cave Depression, personally. Some of y'all might recognize those. They're
Yeah.
beloved roster names. But yeah, that was the way it was for them. I was like, this shit is too good for nobody to hear this. Like, let me help you. And they were
Yeah.
like, as a person, just as their homie, kind of hesitant to let me help them. But then all of a sudden I was like, what if I'm a label and I help you?
Yeah.
They were a little more willing to do it.
And see, people don't trust labels, so it's like that's even not necessarily the ticket. You know, you got to be like, oh, but I'll be a cool label, not just any label.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple. That's what led to the way that I run BDR is a couple negative run-ins I had with other labels, and or just maybe not necessarily negative, but just like, I don't know. I was like, this could have been done differently, or like if it was me, I would have done blah blah blah. And I was like, well, why don't I do that?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I think this age that we're all kind of around, you know, I'm 28, you're 30, Adrian's 35. This is like one. It's kind of like the make or break age. Like you're like do or die. Like let's make something happen. You know, we were talking about that with Rotting Sun Records on the last interview. It's like you just kind of feel the pressure to do something with this thing you're good at. You know, music.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of us, we might have like a trade we trained for or something, but otherwise we're good at music and that's kind of it. You know, so this age that we get to, we're like, all right, well, you know, I'm 30 years old. It's time to do something with music. And so, I mean, it's really cool to be able to, like I said earlier, just kind of see other people on this journey where they're at. And yeah, you're definitely in a cool spot, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting how it's all turned out. Yeah, it's funny how the whole things went. I definitely never expected any of it. But I guess as far as like age goes, a lot of the people that I have around here that got me into noise and stuff are older. You know, some of them are in their 50s, I'm sure. And that to me was like, in a way, encouraging not to get in quite as much of a hurry. Because I was like, you know, I think Patrick's in his 40s. My Brian Saunders, he's, you know, in his 50s, I believe. And I was like, so you mean to tell me a person doesn't eventually just give up and like fall in line and just like be a normal person? It's like, because in my mind, I thought that was some like abyss point that everybody came to in their life, that they just like gave up on passions and just, you know, worked their 9 to 5 and shut up. So like being able to see all these people that I have like in my immediate life that are, you know, leading unconventional lives, or like not doing the 9 to 5 thing, or like, you know, making noise 40 plus years old. It's like, that's inspiring. And like, it gives me hope for my own future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am happy I'm doing this now. I don't think I would have been capable of it prior.
Oh, even just like the people skills alone, I did not have in my earlier 20s, you know, like being able to do artist relations and all that shit. Like I wouldn't have had the professionalism to do this earlier in my 20s. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I picked up a guitar at 27, so I started off late.
Never
dude,
too late.
Not even that. That's impressive. But you've only been using a computer for how many years now?
Maybe like a year and a half. I don't know, like not that long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you figured out how to mix and master music so quick. You release so much music and it's all so sick. So I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's like really surprising how quickly you can learn things if you just completely obsess about it. So.
Yeah, you're telling me. I mean, I grew up with like cassette tapes, but I was still like pretty young at the time, and they phased out pretty quickly, you know, once I was growing up for most people.
Yeah.
So it's like when I got into this, I was like, I have next to fucking no clue what I'm doing. And like, I knew a little bit about noise. More than anything, I knew about music in general. And like, I just, I loved music and I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And those are like two of my main passions in life, even outside of the label. So I was like, if I can use both of those, I'm happy. And yeah.
Hell yeah. Looks like we're coming up on time here. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about, Adrian?
I mean, I think we covered most everything. You got anything you want to plug, Alex?
I'm sure there is. There's all kinds of things. I'm going to start into VHS releases this year. Got the first VHS release coming up in March.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of VHS. Trying to plan on the first vinyl release this year. Looking at it. Yeah.
Nice.
You know, keep doing
Big
the
things
things
coming trademark symbol.
Yeah. Be good to yourself. Love your people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Great interview.
Man.
Thanks for coming
Thanks
on.
for
Good to
coming
meet
on.
you.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out the podcast again, everybody. We really appreciate it. And thank you to Alex for coming on and being a great guest. So we're going to end the show with the final song from his latest album. Everything as It Should Be is what the album's called, and the song is Voices of the Hypnotic. Enjoy.